Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of The Adventures in Reality on GalacticHistorian.com. I am your host, Andrew Bartzis, and joining me right now is Veronica Ford King. And Veronica is the head of the Montague Keen Foundation and of British Society of Paranormal Research. Veronica, welcome.
Andrew, I am so happy to be speaking with you. This is such an honor. Thank you so much. I admire your work tremendously, and you are a very special person, and the earth needs you right now. I thank you for being with us.
I thank you for being here too. You've been having some tough time yourself. I know you've been just trying to get all of the work done with all of the different projects that you have going with the centers.
Yes. It's hard work, but my God, it's rewarding. Mm-hmm. It's when you see people waking up every day, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see people blossom and just suddenly realize what's going on. It's wonderful, wonderful. Andrew, I would love you to talk about CERN because it does concern me what they're planning. If you could explain this to the people, it would be wonderful.
Yes. I just did an event this last weekend on CERN. I answered questions on CERN, and I've been leading into the CERN process for a while. And there are 633 separate experiments at CERN right now, and they all are called belief system control systems. CERN itself is a dimensional teleport system to import a belief system, and a belief system, which is literally what you believe, has an artificial intelligence behind it, and that artificial intelligence is linked to the dreaming mind of another planet. So they are literally making a planet have two personalities, and then taking one of the personalities out of that planet and then bringing it here as part of a belief system, an enforcement system. And CERN, everything you look at CERN, when you look at this picture of CERN from inside the building, inside the schematics, it looks exactly like the Mayan calendar on purpose. Everything about this project is meant to make you believe reality functions differently. It is a belief system enhancement tool. And when you start enhancing belief systems, you make zealots. And then when you make scientists that are zealots, you get the most unusual of creations. CERN was not originally created here on Earth itself. It exists on tens of thousands of worlds simultaneously, and Earth is existing on millions of different timelines currently because it's a paradox world. Somehow, some way, another group of beings figured out how to create a technology in a physical world of another place and bring it into the dreaming world of our planet and manifest it in a massive remedy and resolve process related to the timeline genocide wars from 54 million years ago. So what you see of CERN is a massive, giant fortress that broadcasts belief systems around the galaxy. It is a tool for domination and control that when fully used will not just dominate and control this world, it'll reach out to the dreaming minds of thousands of other worlds and begin to do dream damage and harm to them. It is a weapon of belief.
I've always felt it was a weapon. I don't even like looking at photographs of it. It's not.
I know, it's not pretty.
Oh boy, it isn't. Now, something else that concerns people. I keep telling them World War III will not happen. Am I correct?
Correct. There will not be a World War III. There will be nothing happening. In fact, every day will continue, and there will be the beating of the chests. Yes. Just as Syria passed, just as Egypt passed, just as Iran, just as Afghanistan, just as India passed, just as the hurricane in the Philippines has passed, all of that will pass. There is not enough power in any one group for anything to be done right now. Yes. The biggest lie of all that people will come to accept is that there was one eye at the top of the pyramid. There's not one. There's hundreds and hundreds. Yes. And many of them are black and blue from beating the heck out of each other over the last 5,000 years.
Yes. Now, can we talk about the pyramid? Because I believe the Vatican is at the top. Am I correct?
No. It all comes down into understanding the sacred geometry infrastructure of the planet. The pyramids, think of when you're building a brand new house. You build a foundation of concrete. And on top of that, you build something that will be able to maintain, the foundation can hold 1,000,000 pounds or whatever it's rated for,
Yes.
But we have a foundation that is rated for way, 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 way more than we could possibly do right now. Okay?
Yeah.
That was done on purpose. That's the foundation. That was the original belief system of the Lemurian seed society that came here during the creational process of Earth. And the original pyramids themselves were made out of metal and weren't built here. They came from other galaxies and other universes in the process of setting up Earth as a planet. Because Earth started out as a concept in a dream, and then a soul came, and that is the Earth Mother. And the Earth Mother manifested her dream around a digital concept and was able to manifest matter from the digital concept and create a planetary infrastructure, which was one of the which is similar to the Earth ships, these spaceships that are giant planets. The vast majority of planets in all of the galaxies are some type of vessel. It's called a unity consciousness drive. That means there's a crystalline structure in there that was started by a very powerful seed spark soul, who could be someone like you or me, who decided not to live on a world for a while and just become a galactic roaming citizen, and they need stuff to do. And they grab big chunks of rock and they shape them. And they make it a garden of crystals. And within that, life will come to it. And it is one of the greatest habits and pastimes of beings who still live on worlds or out there to go out there and do this to the world, to set up a future shell. Just like a crab will discard its shell and another crab will pick it up. Same thing. And a unity consciousness drive is when a sentient being that comes on that world and is nurtured by it, and a soul spark comes in and begins to invite people to come and live on that world. You have the evolutionary process and spiritual evolutionary process where commerce between solar systems exists at a spirit level, where a sun is in charge of 12 or 15 planets and moons. And let's say they need mathematicians, thinkers, or atheists, and another world goes, I have a bunch of those, they're really good, I need a warrior, I need a healer, I need this, and they will trade, and those souls will willingly be a part of that trade because they're all looking for their perfect experience.
Yes.
And there will be alignments of soul families in these open markets for the best possible experience. Many people have millions upon millions of soul family. The vast majority of souls in this world are the old ones. Why? Because this is the school of hard knocks. This is where you get your PhD in hard knocks.
I couldn't agree with you more, my dear. I know it's... Yes.
Giza is the foundation. But Giza is also where you have to see that timeline genocide created 4 separate existing timelines that have 4 expressed different foundations that also have been layered differently by the 4 different timelines. So many people get this fixation on Giza, but ultimately Giza is CERN.
Really?
It's just a different picture, a different image. It's a belief system control. And CERN is a belief system control. When you take the people out that are programming it, it can do good.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But in its current format and its current leadership, it is like a big dream weapon. And that's one of the reasons they've quarantined fields around here. It's one of the reasons this is going so slow, is because the best of the best of the best of the last 54 million years made sure they're all here at the end. Because they didn't give a heck about the beginning or the middle. Everyone knew what was about the end, because it's the end, those people that leave the legacy for the rest of the universe.
Yes.
And this is about legacy, not vanity, legacy.
So where does the Vatican and the banks and the royals and all that, where do they fit into all this?
They are all part of a sacred geometry infrastructure. Think of a foundation. That foundation needs electrical wires. It needs hot water. It needs cold water. It needs lights. The Vatican would be considered something like a telephone system or a computer, and the Bank of England and the Queen of England would be considered like the parking garage with the cars inside it, because that's what households and transfer spiritual contracts. And then different cities are transfer or holding stations that have multiple banks inside them, and each bank has a link to your birth certificate that allows them to sell it on the open market. So they have a direct spiritual contract to send you spiritual mail, whether you see it or not. And then your contracts are brought into the corporate office, which means corporate karmic resolution on a spiritual level instead of your free will choice at resolution. So that's the layer of reality that's being controlled. And the pyramids were a part of that original function of domination and control so that we could shed off a tremendous amount of people who were here for an experience and were not capable of having the experience yet.
Yes,
Yes. There was a while the astral worlds were so full that literally like only a few 100,000 people lived on the world, and there were trillions of people in the astral worlds until they literally started having to kick people out of the astral world and say, get a life, literally.
Yes. Yes.
You know that term, get a life? It literally comes from that full format. They wiped out, they forced incarnated everyone, trillions upon trillions upon trillions, and literally the other joke was the astral worlds were a ghost town.
My goodness.
Yeah. And that was about 13 and 15 million years ago. No one wanted to come in for the experience, and no one could leave. Because if you leave the Galactic Ascension machine, which is mass karmic resolution, you can have no memory of what you did, and you do not take a copy of your records here on the planets. You go back to your original light being, and then you will inevitably forever be nagged to come back in because you know the rest of your soul shards in there.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's so many of us living on Earth, and we have no idea about all this. This is where your work is so important. You're opening people's minds to the reality that we are living in right now, and we need to understand it. Now,
let me finish sacred geometry infrastructure.
Yes.
When you read the contract revocations, I had you read them about a week ago, and from your unit, they really changed you.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, everything about sacred geometry infrastructure is in those contract revocations. And if you take the time to think, what does sacred geometry satellite broadcasting system mean? That means a system of satellites that was created under an esoteric order such as NASA, which is, never a straight answer.
I know.
Okay,
yes.
And they are clearly an esoteric organization with underpinnings to who? The pyramids, Solomon, all of those other, indications there. So that is that faction trying to present that form of belief system, that the space would come out this way, and Kennedy would say, rah, 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 and then we're on the moon, and then all of a sudden we're not on the moon anymore. Okay?
Good God. Yes. Yes.
That's how easy a belief system could be hijacked. That's how easy our belief systems. We are manifesting, creating beings. So to understand reality, we have to look at the contract revocations to look for sacred geometry infrastructure. Wherever there is a Masonic building, that is a sacred geometry building. Yes. Anything that has the Masonic bricks in it is a Masonic building. Why? Because that's what they were doing during that time. Empowering their residual image into buildings who they well knew would not be used by them because they'd long be dead hundreds upon hundreds or thousands of years later, and that a future generation would take over that would be totally unaware that the entire place of Masonic buildings was linked into a massive global infrastructure of sacred geometry buildings that were meant to pervert the existing ley lines on our planet. So they made a second grid out of brick and roads and buildings and contracts, spiritual contracts such as the King and Queen of England or India or any of the other places that they went and conquered and brought into the post system, which leads back to where? Rome. All roads lead to Rome. Why? Rome has to household and transfer to all the infrastructure systems, and the Pope's just the telephone operator for it.
Good heavens.
Mm-hmm. This is a massive system. Yeah.
It
Massive,
is.
massive system. And the pyramids are the foundation for it. That's why so many people who want to go and do meditations at the pyramid have such powerful experiences. And this is where
Yes.
this movement of sovereignty comes from, where we do not have to be stuck into the old foundation. At any time, we can recreate or uncreate the existing foundations and return to the original reality rules, which is 100% free will universe on a 100% free-willed planet with 100% contrast control between all beings in a shared reality experience.
Yes.
When you break those words down, shared reality experience, you have 100%
yes.
contrast control.
My God.
That is the way this
Yes.
fundamental rules of this world, and we are all individual manifesting, creating reality programmers. We have been taught at birth by our mother and father, or by those original beings that imprint on us, what the world is like. We are tremendously psychic as children.
Yes, I can remember. Yes, and then school, it knocks it all out of you.
Knocks it all out of you, or beats it out of you.
Oh my goodness. I went to Catholic school, my dear. The nuns were very good at beating it out of you, I can tell you. Now, I can understand from what you're saying why Monty guided us to the ley lines and the releasing of the energy from the ley lines and the obelisks in Rome that control all the ley lines, it seems. Do you agree with that? Or, you know, that
the obelisk in Rome is technology.
Yes.
Okay? It's spiritual technology. That's where we have to realize sacred geometry is light technology. When a light enters a sacred geometry 3D construct, whether it's created by the mental structure of a being psychically projecting photons through their third eye, or a piece of technology that isn't sentient that creates the same effect, okay, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay? So that reality creation right there is, we can create realities many, many, many different ways.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I've been told.
Let me finish. The ley lines, when we as a species were disconnected from the original human ley lines at about 900,000 years ago, the sacred geometry infrastructure, what it was doing was leading us out of the different areas of the earth, so that we'd come back into cities that were based in sacred geometry, so we would begin dreaming there instead of our natural dream world, which is, as a global species, we go to the North Pole or South Pole aurora borealis. And that's where you get your deepest dream time connection, because so many people have spent thousands or millions of lifetimes in the North or South Pole, and their form of entertainment was the looking up in the sky and seeing the northern lights, which is the solar energy coming into Earth, which is an expression of solar religions that many, many indigenous cultures all over the world connect to. Now, in this lifetime, these past lives bleed through, and when we visualize the North or South Pole or Aurora Borealis, we dream into the dreaming mind of Earth, and that's where we meet our soul families. Those are where dreamtime societies exist. They are physical construct astral worlds on the higher density, and at other times they are a very high density dream world that is the interaction to enter the dream world of thousands of other worlds, because it's a massive United Nations ambassadorial complex.
My God.
It gets big.
My God, it's so exciting. It's so interesting. There is so much more to what's around us than we realize.
Absolutely.
Now, what about the underground bases of the greys and the lizards and other aliens?
Okay.
Are they working on genetic modification of humanity?
Well, again, like I started from the beginning, there's 4 separate timelines here that we all... In June 2011, we went from many millions of timelines to one single timeline. Okay? But we have to realize the reason we were on millions of timelines and we were all separated in different soul shards is because timeline genocide created 4 separate paradoxes, and we had to start this process over 4 times. But every time you start over, you're still simultaneously doing the other one you did, because the second one you do, you're not going to do the same way. You're going to make different choices. The end's always going to be different. So you have to see 4 separate courses of action that all lead to 4 separate ends. And then there are beings who can live on all 4 timelines and affect all 4 timelines to create a totally different end. You're not talking about the grays and all the other species. There's 10,302 different species right now that are vying for control of the end. And what is control? They want to be the first friends of humanity.
Yes.
So to simplify it, who's going to be the first friends or the first enemies of humanity? And that is the next layer of CERN's belief system control. We are unlimited beings. We do not have to go to war. We do not have to defend. We have to learn our history. And we have to look at ourselves and our DNA and take apart the sacred geometry systems and return them to zero balance. Many of those systems will need to be cleared out by spiritual cleaners, people that can go in there and disconnect the dense energies, like the White House or Whitehall or Stuttgart, Germany, which is a place of some very, very disconcerting energy. And it's not the German people, but that's what the UFOs or the different aliens have brought there.
Yes.
Why? Because they have cities there. Why? Because they need to be in this reality. And that's ultimately why they even release these concepts to television. In 1400 to 1533, there was a massive, massive war for our planet. Tens of thousands of vessels fighting every day for hundreds of years. Okay? Every single being on Earth looked in the sky and said, those are not gods, because we've seen their dead bodies on the ground.
Yes. And
they looked to their people, to their church, and the church had nothing to say. And at that point, when they looked up, they knew. They knew. So the Renaissance has begun before. And this next Renaissance is just us knowing when we look at our global mutant media network of propaganda.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Okay? It's a mutant media.
Yes.
Okay? We take the mutancy out of it. Yep.
It's like your prison guard in the corner of your room. It's controlling your minds, and people don't realize that they would be far better off not watching television, not listening to the so-called news, which is really not news at all. It's the one person in a room decides what's going to be told to the world, and all the networks around the world repeat it.
Exactly.
It's just appalling.
Just talking heads.
That's right. Now, how many bases are operational, and how far have they gone in their experiments?
All right. Well, there's 10,000 plus species. So you want me to focus on individual? Do you want me to just give you a general outlay of the 2 perspectives and the third that's trying to make it in?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, let's just call it the not so good guys. Okay. The not-so-good guys, because many of them have no choice to be here, and they're being put in a scenario where they risk much of their own species being here to do what? To take DNA from us, who have been trapped in a dream world trap for 54 million years, so they can bring our DNA back to their home species. Many of these species, well over half of them, are within 3 or 4 years of total species extermination because their DNA has run out, because they no longer have sex organs. They've been trying to play this DNA trade game with human beings for so long that they made mistakes along the way, like disconnecting themselves from a tree of life and not living on a home world and living in a metal vessel traveling the universe for millions of years. Nobody wants to incarnate into that soul family. And they went from trillions of beings universal-wide to less than 100,000 in the last million years. That's how rapid their population is done. And these people can very easily become zealots. Okay, the grays are technology. They are skin suits that have been created so that you can function in many different realities at once. Now, there is it is an artificial intelligence, but It's programs. It's just material matter programs that they can take dense dream matter from other worlds and manifest it in another place simply using the proper photonic technology and mental interpretations. You can manifest the dream world anywhere. It's the tree of life that gives that full spark of manifestation that really gives the experience. And we are experiencing beings. We have 9 experiential bodies, from ancestral body to sensual body to sexual body to blue body to red body, all the different experiences. And then we have 7 colors of experience, which is the 7 rays. We have 63 ways of experiencing every single moment of the infinite creative moment of life. The vast majority of beings in this universe have 3 layers of experience. We have 63. Now you want to know why they want our skin suits. We are technology. We are the technology. Yes. DNA skin suit technology, DNA lineage technology that has been cultivated in a system that is existing outside of universal time.
Good God. This is absolutely mind-blowing stuff.
And there's DNA. Right. There's a DNA tray that exists outside of time, because this is all about a concept of a social agreement that trillions of beings agreed into in a process of remedy and resolve in a spiritual court of equity 54 million years ago as a unity species. They all agreed to go through the separation of densities so they could fully learn what free will is. So what is considered a prison planet is we created this system and refined this system so that karma can be resolved on a universal scale. And there are 66 other planets that created the prime drama timelines, and they've all been put into one solar system, and that is the solar system where we are right now. Okay? There's more than 12 planets in the solar system. There are 66. And all species that are trying to resolve karma from lost experiences during the timeline genocides immigrate to the Galactic Ascension machine. Okay? If you don't want to go in, you don't have to. But the beings that are inside there have the weight and task of resolving all karma for the universe of all beings. And inside there it's quite nasty. There's ancestral karma. There's these belief systems. There's all this evil and vile stuff. And then there's all this beauty stuff. Beautiful things like the Earth and all the other planets and their different ways of experience. It comes down to, when we awaken, are we going to awaken to the truth of our race memory, to the truth of our race history, or is there just going to be the next version of television and talking heads? Even if they give us a lot more information and tell us about the UFOs, are they going to tell us about all of them? No. Are they going to tell us what happened at 51 million fiat years ago? No.
No.
Those are key and critical for the rest of our people to connect to their own DNA memories and to know that the lineage that people are in, that is your mother and father passed on a lineage to you and their mother and father passed on a lineage to them. It's all over the world. Those original lineages that were started here have DNA memories in them that are meant to interact with CERN. They're not even your memories. They're other memories from other people put in there purposely to confuse and skew you at birth.
My God.
That's a fine print soul contract enforcement system. That's one of those 633 projects that are at CERN. Has anyone ever seen the picture of the front door of CERN? There's a big statue of there. Okay?
Yes.
It's a Hindu dancing god with fire around her with a bunch of arms.
Yes.
Goddess of destruction, creation and destruction.
I know. That's what concerns me about it.
Right. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yes. Good God.
Yeah.
Now, who will be the first ET race that will contact humanity publicly?
Oh, there have been hundreds publicly. People have died, though. Right. That part's in the past. They can't send out the hit teams like they did before. I mean, they still can. It's in a different scenario. They have very, very specific rules to send them out now, because everything's about reality control, reality control, reality control.
Yes.
And the vast majority of the different species that are up there, they realize this. They're not dumb. They also understand that there's a quarantine field around our planet that prevents new belief systems from getting updates from CERN. Okay? Because CERN broadcasts updates to the belief system that it tries to alter the people that are trying to help Earth. It's a massive mind control wave system that goes all throughout our solar system every couple days when they turn that machine on. And the beings that are out there that are trying to help us literally have tough times because it can get so mentally taxing for them to maintain the quarantine field at the same time being blasted by this belief system energy that could somehow be DNA linked to them. Okay?
Yes.
Because everyone's related, even everyone that's in here and out there. And we'll come to that understanding, so.
Gosh. Now, what role do you think the Yahyels will have for humanity? I will spell it in case I'm not pronouncing it properly. It's Yahyels.
I'll be honest with you. We are in a time where anything can say what's going to happen in the next 6 months, 9 months, or 9 years. It's literally coming down to what's happening every 36 hours rolls over into the next 36 hours.
Yes.
We are that close to the tipping point of consciousness. We're having things called consciousness earthquakes, where different sections of the world have the energy ley lines that are the original foundation are trying to break through the secondary foundation. Okay, which I told you about before, the sacred geometry. Your mind has these earthquakes where you'll experience the dream world and the physical world simultaneously.
Yes.
And like Romania is having one right now. The Kiev in Ukraine is having it, but that's being intertwined because they knew it was coming there. And it's one of the reasons that Vladimir Putin invaded that area was so that he could capture the pyramid technology over there and prevent it from cracking and allowing the sub-layers of the natural earthly lines from coming through.
Good God.
So everything is, again, reality control, maintain. And if nothing happens this year, they're still winning. And I've said this many, many, many times, until we are out there in the same scale, size, and heart space as the 60s and 70s, nothing is happening, and they will continue to plan your future lives.
I know.
And I'm serious. They're planning your future, and you almost have no choice about reincarnating or incarnating because you're not going to get off this world. Everyone leaves at the same time. Everyone gets their permission slip to leave simultaneously. Where you go from there is your choice, but until everyone gets it simultaneously, you're not going anywhere.
Gosh.
And for those of you who want to leave, you know the answer. The reason you want to leave is because you're tired of experiencing here. But ultimately, you understand if you do leave, you won't remember anything you did here, and then you're going to get on the other side, and it's going to start. I have to be back. I didn't finish. I have to be back.
I know.
Because that's what brought you here in the first place.
Oh, my God, I know. Now, there are rumors that Sirius B reptilians are getting ready to show up on Earth and falsely claim their ownership on humanity. What do you say to that?
I don't believe that at all in any way, shape, or form. I don't think the reptilians can gather a pile of chicken bones on this planet right now.
Yeah.
That may be a little harsh to them. Okay, maybe a mountain of chicken bones, but it's still a mountain of chicken bones.
I know.
It's fear. Know. It's just fear.
Okay.
If it's one ship that shows up and the reality actually allows it, I will put my foot in my mouth. But I don't think our reality, literally us, are allowing it yet.
Yeah.
I think we're like a chocolate souffle in the oven, and every chef in the universe is whacking the hands that are trying to open the oven early.
Yes.
Because what happens in a chocolate souffle if you open the oven early?
It sinks, my dear. It sinks to the...
and we start all over again.
That's right. Now, I know there are evil reptilians guarding the stargates and the portals, especially in Ireland. We need those to be removed because they can't get into the stargates, but they prevent us from entering.
Those are the archons, okay?
Yes.
And I'll be honest, if you know what sacred geometry is, you can kick them out of their buildings just by taking care of the sacred geometry buildings that are around them. And when it comes to the stargates, You can call upon the mothers and have tremendous rituals and ceremonies spread throughout the world for specific stargates to have archonic release. It requires teamwork. That's ultimately why the communities and centers would want to be put together by Monty, because you will need people who will be remote clearing teams and then direct clearing teams. I mean, that's going to be some dangerous stuff where people are going to be remote clearing. I mean, it's going to become a time for our world freedom where the global governments begin to recede their domination and control and just allow us to live with some of this existing system that's going to rapidly change. But they're going to need people to step up who are going to need to learn the skills of clearing buildings of dense energy. And it'll be like the special forces of spirituality that are coming in and doing the good work. Like, who's going to clean the Vatican? Who wants to clean Westminster Abbey? Who wants to clean the White House or the Pentagon?
Yes.
Okay? It's not some guy with a sage stick and some divining rods right there.
No. It's work that's got to be done, though, and it's got to be planned.
It's got to be done. I mean, festivals have been done time and time again throughout humanity. And these festivals can have incredible shamans that can come to it. They can be given a concept of freeing the stargates worldwide. You know, maybe that's something that you can consider. You know, you have plenty of people that listen to your audience. Maybe you can suggest to them that they start a festival in their local area, and the website can provide, you know, advertising for it so that people can network. So that there is a massive day of ceremony designed for Stargate release. And I can write specific contract revocations for that, and we can do some amazing work global-wide with a global media mutant network out there that once you learn its spiritual contracts, you can do tremendous things with.
I know. That's wonderful, Andrea. Gosh, this is answering my prayers, because I'm very, very conscious that we need to release the good energy as soon as possible. And there are people right around the world who have offered to help. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful to them for this. And when they hear what you have said about it, they will be even more excited.
Yep.
Now, it is expected that the Federation of America will be announced officially within a couple of years. What do you think?
Anything to do with prosperity funds, NESARA is all a bunch of hooey.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's there to put you in your belief system that it's going to come and that the hero will rescue you. But that is just an archetype of CERN that has broken our society down to about 72 different adjectives that describe people, from melancholy to victim to tyrant to dictator to abuser to victimizer, so on and so forth, abuse, so on. And they can broadcast this to you, and when you wake up, you don't go through your proper dream world, and your DNA gets really confused because there's this artificial intelligence that's giving you all these things to do right away you wake up because you are adhering to their belief system.
That's right. That's right. Now, we were told there were going to be 3 days of darkness, December 2012. It didn't happen. It
didn't happen on this timeline. It didn't happen on this timeline. 4 timelines, 4 separate paradoxes. This is where my perspective is very unique, and I'm gonna all those people out there that are listening, many people who predicted were right. They just weren't right on this timeline. And yes, I can go through it and point out individual places where things did and didn't happen on the individual timelines. But you have to understand, again, when you start a paradox, we are simultaneously existing on 4 and simultaneously doing moment-to-moment living on different things. But there are beings who can perceive all 4 different versions of their moment-to-moment self on all 4 different paradox timelines and go back to the beginning and change things ever so slightly, so the being that gets to the end, their perception changes, their wisdom changes, their knowingness changes, not the material reality. And that is the key to understanding CERN and how you can counter CERN in your own knowingness and identifying your belief system. I can recommend this to everyone. One of the very first things that was taught to the original clans of man that were experiencing the first ice mountain was that to go and eat meat. It's when the great antelope chiefs came down from the mountains to the clans of man who had huddled together next to fire, which was the first shaman. And an anthropomorph, an antelope anthropomorph, came in and said to the clans of man, who were the first grandfathers and grandmothers of the area, there's 13 grandmothers and 13 grandfathers, and said, "You will take my flesh and you will eat it because this is my service to you. Because if you do not, you will freeze and die. The ice mountains are coming, and there'll be 4 worlds of ice, and then there'll be the 5th age of man. You must learn to eat meat as our service." And man and the grandmothers and grandfathers said, "No, we cannot do it because you are our brothers." An antelope anthropomorph said to the shamans in their mind, "You will take my flesh. It is my service. And in my service, all are healed." And from that, the first antelope anthropomorph clans of religion were formed, honoring that moment. Okay? That is humans' belief system. Not just the animals, the mountains, the water, the air, the earth. Your choice of belief system from there is you. When it's external, it's not this world. This is an internal world with 100% contrast control, 100% free will, and 100% free will universe. We are not limited to 2 choices of light and dark. That is just a belief system.
Yes. How very interesting. Now, why does the dark want to destroy us? You know...
They don't.
Don't they?
No, this is the big confusion. It's a never-ending battle. And the light and the dark, around 13, 12 million years ago, realized that it was a never-ending war, all right? And that they couldn't exist without each other. And they realized that they were a belief system, okay? Millions of other worlds in the universe who don't use light or dark as their only concept. It is a macro belief system that was enforced into this section of reality. It goes that big. And this is tough for people to accept. And many of those light and dark beings ultimately became zealots out of their own confusion, which made our world infinitely more worse because all the zealots came here for control. And this is where very special multidimensional beings, which I talk about in the Galactic History shows, came here to challenge the prime creators of the universe, to literally become new prime creators. Yes. And some of them have succeeded.
Yeah.
Okay? Some of them have succeeded, have created their own galaxies.
Yes.
Okay? It's not, this is a belief system war. Has always been a belief system war, spiritual invasion belief system. Let's take war out of it. Let's take this belief system war stuff out of it and get down to the incarnating species we are, who are about to go through a spiritual awakening in a soup, an atmosphere of shame, blame, and guilt that is created by our pollution, by our cultural society. When we look at the contract revocation for the sacred feminine, all of those emotional things that are targeting women, okay? That's the foundation of our species right there. That is our birthing order. How can anyone come into a world semi-natural when they're not even left on their mother's heart for 4 days while the umbilical cord finishes nurturing them? That is the way of natural birth. You don't cut it as soon as the baby comes out, slap in the ass, give them 22 injections, and stick them in an incubator for an hour before you put them on the mother's heart.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
You don't sexually mutilate women, sell them off into porn industry and trade into sex slavery. That exists on our world. And the light allows that. Okay? This is a way of breaking down light and dark. If the light, on all those zealot guys that are out there listening now, and I'm not talking to physical people, I'm talking to those spirit guys that are out there. If you wanted child pornography and rape and all that stuff over, the church can end it, snap of a finger. They created it, though. We all know they created it.
I know. And this is a question I wanted to go into with you. Why is the Vatican so embroiled in it all?
Because
and all the ruling classes.
It's really easy. If you're going to dominate and control 4 timelines separately with a concept of religion, you're going to need some really, really gullible people who can be taken into spiritual contracts and can be educated to be dominators, controllers, but not questioned. So you need an industry inside of corruption that can pick out the best of the best so they can populate 4 timelines with corrupt, evil people who don't really know that they're on 4 separate timelines.
No.
It's all about personnel management. That's why the Vatican is set up that way. That's why all of those bad things were done. And it's the priests at the low level who will suffer for that of the political organization at the top.
That's right.
And the church will survive, but it just won't have a global organization, Vatican, at the top. It'll have your local priests doing hands-on healing. Will it be a cross? The cross will be a whole new understanding. New understanding. The esoteric underpinnings of the way it is now will be re-understood. Yes. And many of those religions will look back and say there was still good in that. It was just the corrupt at the top.
That's right.
And now the compassion and forgiveness for those the corrupt at the top will have to come to us of the now, because they will not give up unless they see we can give them something that says you're not going to just, nuke us, or you're not just going to, put us on public trial. Do they deserve public trial? Yes. But they also deserve to tell their story, because many of them had no choice. They were born into lives, and they have time travelers that made sure they made mistakes, that they could be blackmailed. They didn't have a chance. They're just as blissfully ignorant as others out there.
Yes.
So people like the Rockefellers and the guys at the top, are they going to be free after this? Not really. But what they will be doing is telling the story of everything that their secret societies have done over the last millions of years, because they are really the only ones who can tell it.
Yes.
In a signature frequency of truth. Now, I've come in and begin reading the Akashic records and have been exposing and exposing and exposing. They've tried exposing this before. In fact, every single Masonic order building that's in the United States is on a register. So if anybody ever wanted to start going clearing their buildings, there's the register. They gave up a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Many of these beings have given up a long time ago. But there was a new society and a new class that kept brought in, and faster when these mega colleges and universities went into place. And then the banks started hiring people to do what? To become corruption managers during the 2008 scandal, so they could then draw on those people who were all part of the banking industry scandal, and then the screw up of cleaning the rest of the world up from the toxic debt that was left. And that was a way to attach people to these derivatives that were based off of what? Your driver's license and social security's numbers, which are all just a number for energy harvesting.
Yes.
Every single human being on this world has a bond on their life when they were born.
Yes. And the fact that every child, when it's born, is baptized. And you don't stop and think of the repercussions of that baptism. You're signing over that child unknowingly. And that shocked me when that came to my attention. But you deal with that in your revocations, don't you?
Yes, I do. When you begin revoking citizenship to all forms of religion, because religions did the big misdirection dance. They did the 3-card monte or the shell game, because one day it was the Roman Empire and with 105 or 110 ruling families, and the very next day it was the Holy Roman Empire with Christianity at its surface that it did a facade makeover, and it was a religion with several hundred founding families. Literally, one day it changed, and you can go back in history and see the day. And from that point forth, government understood religions are legacy and survive, governments fail. And the process of creating America and the North and South America zones was a reality hijack, because that continent of America was off limit from the European explorers' belief systems.
Yes.
Okay? So Turtle Island will once again be going through its belief system, a reawakening for all those who have lived on it now for 4 generations.
Gosh.
In the Irish, it'll go back to 150 generations. That means there'll be 150 generations of Irish who can be born into this world right away to resolve the Irish land karma issues of having the potato famine and being kicked out of the British and being forced to immigrate to other places without any spiritual acceptance. I mean, thousands of other societies have had it. You know, the Irish have lots of history, though.
Oh, my God. You know, well, I am Irish, as you know, Andrew, and Ireland is very important to me. So when Monty started explaining about Ireland and how our history was stolen,
Yep.
and how the Vatican that controlled what we call the potato famine, which was actually a Holocaust.
It was imported. It was a potato famine was imported purposely.
Yes. And the Jesuits were there overseeing the killing of the Irish people.
But they were harvesting souls.
Were they?
That's the other side, sacred geometry. They were taking over the last of the Druid sites, the last of the Celtic sites, the last of the ancient sites that ceremonies were done on tens of thousands of years before the potato famine. Yes. Those people were the legacy ancestors of that land, and if they had been taught the proper ceremonies, they could have prevented all of that, but they didn't because they had been conquered so many times.
Yes.
Just like the Native Americans or the Indians of India.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes, I know. It's appalling what's been done to humanity. It really is. Well, as I said, Ireland is very dear to me, and the sacred places there. The Vatican, the most sacred place in Ireland is Ishnock. And the Vatican closed our eyes to it, just pretended it didn't exist. We were never taught about it. They controlled everything we learned. They controlled our government. They controlled everything. The hospitals even, they controlled. And so we never learned about our own country. Not the truth, anyway. And
well, if you knew the truth, you'd have kicked them all out.
Exactly.
Hell, if you knew 1% of the truth, you'd have kicked them all out.
That's right. But Ireland will be restored. Ireland will learn about their past, their history, their real history, because the history of our world was switched so that black was white and white was black. We were told everything started in the East. It did not. It started in the West and went east. The Vatican is responsible for all that. And people are only beginning to realize it. And that's why we're confused. It's people like you who are educating us now to the truth of our existence. And Andrew, we are so grateful to you because you're bringing out so much that was hidden from us. And, you know, there's a so-called angelic war going on in space. Is that true?
From the perspective of belief system, why call it an angelic war?
I don't know.
It's belief system.
Yeah.
Every single thing in our world right now, okay? We got to look at it at the programming level of your belief system.
Yes.
When information like my mind stuff comes out, the belief systems aren't prepared for it. So they have to rapidly adapt. When they rapidly adapt, it creates conflicting belief systems in people, which create consciousness earthquakes.
Yes.
Okay? The frequency of information that I'm bringing out is at a truth in which the belief systems cannot handle. That is why the contract revocations are so powerful for so many people, because they haven't been free of the belief system artificial intelligence influence over their adrenal glands, because that's how it has activity in you. It puts you in adrenal gland overstimulation, oversexuality, undersexuality, desires for carbs, moods, and that's how it influences you to do things through your belief until you make a habit pattern and use your own free will to create it. And then it comes in every few hours and checks up on your belief until it's put you on a path that says it'll be another year before I need to check up on you. And that's when people go through awakenings. And then there are people who go through awakening and have a dark night of the soul right afterwards. It's because they got found.
Yes.
And they didn't do anything of spiritual cleanliness.
Yes.
It's so vital that people begin to realize spiritual cleanliness. Absolutely vital.
Yes.
You need to know how to clear the energy of your home, the energy of your property, the energy of the toys that your kids have. You know, there are people that knock on the people that use sage or smudging. When I tell you something, it works because it's belief.
Yes.
It is belief.
Yes.
It is your intention that you're putting it, whether it's a crystal or tobacco or spraying water or spit over people, which is a big shamanic thing. You are using the alchemy of your wisdom to create an effect in reality that affects the matter of another area. And when we bring a building into our signature frequency and remove the energies from it, our heart allows more space to create sacred space within, and we reach the zone of trust in which we can accept the silence between two worlds as infinite voice. That's where our unity connection exists.
How interesting. My God. Now, people go on a lot about the Agarthians or any other races. Do they exist in inner Earth?
They all exist.
Yes.
Inside, let me explain what inner Earth is. Inner Earth, in this 3D perspective, is rock with a molten core. From another perspective, it's a hollow world, only because the rocks have infinite space amongst all of their atoms. So when we see quantum understanding, there is a whole city can live in between the space of atoms. That's what the Agarthan network is. It's a representation that beings who no longer require third density human bodies on the surface go to inner Earth and live in between the atoms of stones or crystals or whatever it is that they're doing. That does have an XY coordinate based off of the inner area of the planet, so the quantum exchange between realities is understood, because there are thousands upon thousands of Agarthan cities, thousands upon thousands of Telosian networks. Every mountain in the world is a portal connection to different cities. Why? Because our world has many more beings than the surface that's living on it of 7,300,000,000. There are well over 50 million beings who live in this world who are also a part of this awakening that we've never met. And that doesn't include the whales, the dogs, the cats, the horses, the elephants, and so on. 50 billion we haven't met yet.
Are we ever going to come together? Is it possible?
Yes, it is very possible, but it requires a belief system change.
Yes.
How does one change their belief system?
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
You know, one of the things Monty said when he died, one of the most important things we have to do is to unlearn everything we learned from our parents and at schools and colleges and universities.
He's absolutely
right. Because it was all lies.
It was all lies.
Yeah, every bit of it, lies. And
well,
unlearning it is not easy.
There's 10% truth spread over many millions of years, which ultimately is still all lies.
Yes.
Okay, 'cause something starts in truth. It's the signature frequency of truth in which we can co-create our own lives, and inevitably we create our own reality, and we forget lifetime after lifetime we created it.
Yeah. Now, I've also heard that reptilians were on Earth before humanity.
Nope.
I'm so glad you said that.
Nope.
Yes.
Humanity is not the first species of Earth.
Who were
Earth has not actually had its own firstborn species completely allowed by itself. There were temporary skin suits that were put into order after the first timeline genocide, because Earth, its first people that came to it were not incarnations. They were direct visits who landed on the planet and became a unified DNA species through a series of rituals that incorporated spiritual technology into the same fundamentals of the pyramid system that was there. It was a totally different creation of a planet. Totally different. Yes. There's nothing like it in any of the universes. Of the 17 universes we can immigrate to.
Mm-hmm. So who were the first on Earth?
beings from all over the different universes who volunteered, literally volunteered to be a
Yes.
part of this gigantic experiment at a point when in the universe that it was existing in was a non-free-willed universe. And it would literally go through a change where it reached a certain potential, and then it would flip to a free will universe instantly, and all beings there would get a light body update of non-free will to free will, and then the
Mhm.
universal beings would sit back and watch and see what happened. And Earth, this concept, was meant to go online at that time that free will came.
Yes. Gosh. Now, when can we expect disclosure?
What is disclosure?
I don't know. Everybody goes on and on about disclosure.
Well, I'd like to
But
take the time to help people to understand.
please.
Disclosure means everything. It doesn't mean the banks, because the banks reveals the black ops reveal off-world space. Okay, if it's the gold that we stole in World War II, World War II leads right to alien, which leads to off-world bases. If it's the child abuse ring in the church, it leads right to all of the top members of the United Nations, which leads right to the UFO DNA human trade. It all
Yes.
leads to the same road. Whether it's power, whether it's cars, well, it's all of it. The whole thing's a lie.
Yes.
And there are people there who don't want this lie to happen because they're the ones that get hit in the head this lifetime for being there, being at the end. Okay?
Yes.
So who, when, where? We create it as a being, as a species. Our news agencies are part of a tool of propaganda that keeps belief systems believing.
Yes.
Like you have American Fox News, which is bigot news, all right? And then you have
Mhm.
BBS News, which or BBS radio in Europe, which is a more of an aristocratic freeness, but they
Yeah.
still don't tell the truth, do they?
Nope.
Okay, they don't talk about the child abuse rings every day that are
No.
going on all over the Vatican. No, they can't do that. They've got other TV to do.
That's right.
Okay, in the 1990s, our media network was hijacked, and they tried telling us about it. It's called the Spotted Owl incident.
Yes.
Do you remember the Spotted Owl?
No, I don't actually.
It was a worldwide global phenomenon for like a month and a half. And I mean
Mhm.
worldwide. Because there was an owl that was in the Pacific Northwest that was on the endangered species list, and the evil loggers were coming to tear down the last forest that this owl lived in. It was only 10 owls of the time this owl left.
Yes.
And it made global news, and the loggers all of a sudden, they weren't going to log anymore. And at the same time, this Spotted Owl Special Law Act came out, okay? And it became a rider that went into a bill called H.R. 3474, the Regal Community Development Act. And that is the actual law that puts Agenda 21 in the American system.
Oh my God.
And it's the Spotted Owl on page 260 or 271 of that document that says Spotted Owl, and the line, the section before it is where they revoke all the banking laws from 1934 in the United States, and they alter the wording so that everything is now under the Agenda 21 UN system.
Yes.
And then the section after that is all about chemtrailing and how they can use water to take over your property because they made a FEMA association from all of the flooding incidents. Oh, it's nasty. It's really, really nasty where they
Agenda 21. And you see, they call it different names all the time and bring in the laws under different names. But really, it's all Agenda 21.
All Agenda 21.
That's right.
And they will connect. They will get into your building or your place through your sewer system or water pipes, because that's specifically what this law is about, maintaining the infrastructure, and that's their way in. That's why you never let anyone on your property.
No. Good God. Agenda 21 is horrific.
It is. It's a fear tool, though.
It is.
And then it's a belief system that will attract corrupt people who will say, you know what, I'll be a part of Agenda 21. I want to be a part of the New World, and I don't give a crap about these people below me. There's a lot of people in the world like that right now.
That's what worries me,
Right. But those people ultimately are in spiritual karmic revolution in unawareness.
I see.
Okay? They're just choosing to play the part this lifetime.
Yes.
They're not the whole part.
I see.
They will
I know.
be deserved compassion and forgiveness, rightfully so. And many
Yes.
of them, many of them, when it push comes to shove, they'll give up. They will not threaten the whole species. It's the zealot few who are influenced by the zealot few light and dark beings out there who are so enamored with each other that they forgot that they were a part of a belief system and have gone so far that nothing can communicate to them other than power, 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 power.
You know, you're talking about the...
I'm talking about the light dictatorship that's currently running our world. It's a light dictatorship.
I know.
Okay? And I have caught flat from the light worker industry about this. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not a light worker. I do not adhere to those concepts of what a light worker is because I've seen light workers do the greatest damage in this world. A real person that's a healer knows this from inside. You do not need a word to identify you as a light worker.
Yes.
Because guess what? There's a million other frequencies of light out there.
Yes.
Okay? It's not just this single concept and this single belief system that tries to lead you external, not internal.
Yes. But people are waking up, and it's wonderful, Andrew. Can you give me a rough idea? What percentage of the world is awake right now?
Maybe 18%.
Is that all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I get emails from so many different countries.
Sure you do.
And it's so heartening.
Right. There are many waves of people who awaken and then several months later will go to sleep because there is technology that is specifically targeting their DNA strands and their lineages because we've assembled into cities based off of DNA separation, and you have no idea that your family was influenced to immigrate to where you were via spiritual contracts.
Yes.
It's all part of the sacred geometry separation of densities, so it makes it easier for them to plan your future lives when you're in these cities. And when you're in these cities sharing dream times, it makes it even easier for them to do whatever they want to you lifetime after lifetime.
But who are they, these people who are doing
us.
This?
They are us. And then you have all the other multidimensional beings who are entangled into the original timeline genocides because they are the ones who were cross-galactic transferring beings who decided to import war over here because of a timeline genocide effect that caused some effect to their world. And all of a sudden they created war and stamped into Earth saying, we will destroy Earth and bomb it into the Stone Age. And they did many times, but it kept coming back and kept coming back, which ultimately bred this concept of dark. And Earth was light. And then one time Earth got so built up in power, all of the other planets in the galaxy around it were fighting with Earth, and it was the lighthouse of the galaxy or the lighthouse of the universe. It's the sole place the light existed. And it got to a point where the light said, stop attacking us, stop attacking us. There's a way to solve this, and they wouldn't stop, and they wouldn't stop. And they created this technology here on Earth called, I'm going to be very careful here, the psychic telescope system, in which they created crystalline cities on the third eye chakras of Earth. It wasn't just one third eye chakra, there's hundreds, but they created on these crystal cities, and they put 300,000 of the most powerful, high-density, high-energy light beings into DNA skin suits here on Earth, and they stuck them in these crystal cities, and they chose a whole world that had billions of people living on it. And they said, stop attacking our world. You're sending vessels here to directly attack us. If you do not stop, we will respond directly to your planet. And they gave them a week to finish, and they didn't stop. And at exactly the end of that week, they reached out with all of their minds, remote viewed, remote experienced, and remote assassinated the entire species of the world, including the planetary sentients.
My God.
And then they sent out a warning to the rest of the galaxy, stop or we'll continue this on a bigger scale. They waited a week, and they kept coming. They wiped out 100 worlds, assassinated everything, all of the ancestors that existed, and erased their time, their history. Yes. And they said, if you do this, if you don't stop, we're going to continue. They did 1,000 worlds. and then 100,000 worlds, and then 1,000,000 worlds, and then 500 million worlds. And then it got to a point where they did 1,000,000,000 worlds, totally wiped out, whole sections of the galaxy empty.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit that button, and Earth went from the lighthouse of the universe to the dark. The light and the dark flipped polarities and showed zealotism and a whole new layer of experienced beings had never seen before.
Yeah.
And that is your ultimate battle for Earth. To understand that light and dark flip sides, and you need not choose either, because there was always a neutral option to end this. That is a sacred neutral perception of Earth, who was never meant to be a weapon. It was to be a place of DNA creations, a seventh dimensional galactic seed planet that seeds whole new worlds with DNA skin suit concepts so beings can incarnate into a spiritual concept and give matter form in the dream mind of a brand new blank Akashic record world.
Good God. This is so interesting. Andrew, this is absolutely amazing. How do you see our future now? What can we do?
I've been in the future. I've been there.
Please tell us. Please tell us.
It's hard. For those that have listened to a lot of the material I have or come to know me closely, there are times that I'm just here in many different places at once, and you can look in my eyes and you realize I'm just not really here, but I'm here.
Yeah, I know.
And the reason why is I'm doing work in other places, and that work is in its own way one piece to a big puzzle, but everyone's piece is vital now.
Yes. And
I'm making sure that the piece that I put in place makes sure that all the other pieces that are in place around me are in the right place. And this is called the separation of densities, and this is why the types of teachings that I've been coming out have been so powerfully affecting people, because it is removing layers of timeline propaganda from them that they had no idea was covering the fogs of their mind and putting them into the great forgetful sleep of the soul every lifetime.
How very interesting.
So many people are going to come out of this. It's going to feel like a spiritual drug haze, like they've been on a drug bender, a spiritual drug bender, and when the technology wears off.
Yes.
Yeah, and you want to know what it's going to be like in the future?
Yes.
It's about saving our culture. It's about cleaning up our planet. You know, the financial system can be taken care of. It's already been thought of. But to implement a new financial system means there has to be a time for us as a human species to let down, to sleep, to heal. Okay?
Yes.
There was a time where a human awakening began on another timeline, previous timeline genocide during the second paradox, where we made it to 2004, and our species was told about UFOs, and it was so harsh in the way that it came through. Not that the media did it wrong and during their breakdown it was okay. Our people ourselves were so confounded by the lies that many of them just stopped living, and the whole society and the whole structure fell apart. And that cannot happen. There cannot be a cultural breakdown. Something of our food has to survive. Something of the way we live has to survive. There was incredibly beautiful lifetimes here. It has not all been dark. It is just propaganda that has made it look that way.
Yes, yes. I know. But what can we do? Ordinary people like me, what can we do?
You know, it comes down to the cliche of love, but it requires you as a person to look at the mechanics and spirituality of love and the science of it. And love starts with trust.
Yes.
And what does science understand about trust?
Nothing.
It trusts its numbers.
Absolutely nothing.
It can trust 1 + 1.
Yeah.
Okay? Science and spirituality can trust each other. It's when those two come together with some trust, that trust is the beginning of sparks of love, we can begin to end factionism in our world.
Yes.
Every single time we have come to try to free our world before, it is our own people that have screwed it over. It isn't the dark. The dark gave up a long, long time ago. It's the light dictatorship that is keeping this machine going and going and forcing the experiencing on everyone.
Yes.
Okay? And then us individuals who are procreating concepts that are false truth. Okay? That's
Yeah.
what needs to be healed. So for our world to go forward, there's got to be a release of the technology. Well, once the sacred geometry broadcasting system, their etheric resonation systems are taken down, HARP begins being used to positive weather control. They actually begin desalinating the oceans instead of salinating like we've been before. Once they stop fracking and begin pumping the stuff back out and using the alchemy of science and spirituality to transform that pollution into raw energy, which can fuel quantum machines that can create constructs out of your mind, such as a 3D printer. But imagine a brain printer where you just imagine something in your brain and the object's in front of you because you have a quantum field generator that manifests your dream, your mind, into physical matter.
Oh my God, is that possible?
Absolutely. We need to learn subtle energy. We need to turn off the mind control. Everything is in subtle energy. Their martial arts have been teaching it for thousands of years.
Yes.
Spirituality has been teaching it for thousands of years. What has science been teaching us for thousands of years? 1 + 1 is 2. The weather and evolution.
Yes.
And battling religion as the other part of the light and dark concept, because everything has duality.
Yes.
And in duality, there's this perception of separation when, in fact, we are never separate.
No.
Just by perception.
Now, Monty said when he died, all religions have got it wrong. The only religion that is remotely right.
The Buddhists.
Buddhists. But they're wrong
I've
too.
said that myself the exact same line many times. They all got it wrong, and the only one that even came close, and it was still really wrong, were the Buddhists.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely
and the Buddhist was a belief system experiment that got hijacked.
Yes, yes. But religion has to go. We have, in Ireland, before the Council of Nicaea decided to destroy the Irish and the Egyptians, it was the religion of love. Everything was based on love.
Right, which was the same religion that the vast majorities of others in the world used too. It just culturally was different. They'd say the South Africans, they looked different and their culture was different, but it was still love, Ubuntu.
Exactly.
Okay? They all had their own version of it, whether it was Mayan, Incan, Aztec, Toltec, before their belief system was hijacked into perversion.
Yes, yes. It's, oh God, I dream of going back to a world where love is accepted as the concept by which you live. Mm-hmm. Is it going to happen?
Yeah. Well, basically, you keep asking about the future. And it's not that I'm dodging the question. I'm setting up the context for you to understand that the future is almost, it's indescribable to regular beings. And I'm not a regular person. Yes. Okay? I mean, people kind of realize that now. My synapses work differently. I'm functioning on a quantum field completely different. I'm operating on all 4 timelines for those beings that want to know that. I've operated on all 4. Mm-hmm. Okay? I admit that. But they also have already known that for a really long time, as do many other beings out there. Yeah. And at the end of the end of the end, when the first friends of Earth are going to come out, it's going to be people like you or me or our producer Santi that's going to say, hey, that guy's not a good guy. Let's check into him. Yes. I remember something from this time. I remember something from this time. Everyone has their hands dirty.
Yes.
All of the good guys and all of the bad guys, they all have their hands dirty in both sides. So there has to be a process of remedy and resolve so there's not this elongated healing process in which family lineages create feuds that jump into the future lineages.
Yes.
This is where we bury the hatchet of 54 million years. This is where we realize we can become ambassadors to the galaxies.
Yes.
Okay? Why don't we take a break real quick, Veronica, and get some drink? We've
Okay,
been
my
going
dear.
90 minutes straight.
I need to cough, actually.
Yeah, me too. But this has just been exciting. All right, Sandra, take us to a break real quick.
Okay.
And welcome back, everyone. We are going to be giving you a special treat. During the break, Veronica and I had this incredible conversation. Veronica and I are going to be doing a part 2 to this series. And on the break, we were seeing if Monty would be able to ask some questions, if she's going to be able to get into her writing mode. Veronica, are you there?
Yes.
So this has been an incredible show, and I want to thank you. And this Friday, May the 9th, we're going to continue this adventure into reality with you, Veronica King. We'll be broadcasting on YouTube Live. You can go to our YouTube channels to find us for the broadcast link, or stay tuned to my website, galactichistorian.com or montaguekeen.com. Thank you a lot, everyone, for watching the show, and stay tuned for the 9th, and we will be starting at what time? 10 o'clock, I believe. So stay tuned for the times, and thanks a lot, everybody, and this is the end of the show. Stay tuned for part 2.